Welcome to Sinful's Horror Stories. Sit back, relax, stay sinful. Story number 1. I was walking my dog tonight because he was in my room a lot of the day while I caught up on homework. Halfway through my walk, I decided to go another way because I was holding a bag of dog shit and knew where our trash would be. Let me note, I live in a slightly okay part of a pretty bad neighborhood, but I'm fairly strong, and not to mention my crazy German Shepherd, Caesar. Let me say, Caesar hates strangers right now, but usually doesn't bark or anything while walking next to people. Anyway, as we continue down the sidewalk and down the bend, I notice a man, and immediately my dog stares at him. So do I. There was just something wrong. He was walking the same direction, but as I turned down the street, he turned around in such a creepy manner. It was kind of like the old lady in the It Chapter 2 film, where the old lady is first seen as it and turns around. He started walking towards me but was still far away. But then he was taking very strange, accentuated steps, unusually long ones at that. When I got close enough, I saw his creepy dead eyes and smile. His skin was dark and smooth, and he stared at me so creepily. I still said, "What's up, man?" and got no reply. Maybe he hadn't heard me. The closer I got, I wondered why he was walking so strange beforehand. Didn't even seem possible to do so consistently. He looked sober and blank, but was walking normal but fast now. We were getting closer, and he started with those steps again. My dog snarled and lunged at him, biting at the air. The man didn't fucking flinch. Kept walking with those steps. Now I rarely get scared of strangers, with or without my dog. I've dealt with very mentally unsound people, drug traffickers, very scary people. I'm good at fighting, and seldom do I get scared of strangers. But I got the damn chills and was so creeped out. I don't want to say it was a demon or whatever, but I just don't know. I saw a bat a few minutes later, and yesterday, I woke up seeing a tall shadow at the foot of my bed. I don't think these things are related, or I hope not, but I'm completely freaked out. I'm a strong skeptic and haven't experienced anything paranormal in a long time. Any guesses or help? The way he turned around and the way he walked and looked at me. Also, my dog was going for his throat. Story number 2. When I was around 6 years old, my brother and I went to this creepy daycare center in a huge old Victorian home. This was during the late 1980s, when stories of child abduction and satanic cults were pretty rampant in the culture, as well as the news. We went to kindergarten half days. Our mother would drop us off and we'd get to the bus to and from school. Our mother would pick us up after she got off work at the local hospital. There was a large playground out back that was fenced off. After getting out of school, the kids from the center would play out back. At some point, this strange guy, maybe around 20, started coming around and talking to the kids through the fence. He acted weird and spoke in a funny voice. We weren't sure if he was developmentally delayed or pretending to be. He would flash his privates at some of the kids and ask them to flash back. Luckily, I only saw this once and noped the hell out of there. He creeped most of us out, and I know we tried to stay away from him. For whatever reason, the ladies that worked at the daycare center never seemed to be around when this man would show up, or believe us when we explained it to them. One day after getting off the school bus, myself and another kid took a shortcut from the bus stop to the daycare, basically just cutting between some small bushes on the side of the building. My brother was in the front, I was in the middle, and the third kid was behind us. Then we heard it, a rustling in the bushes and a loud shouting. "I'm gonna get you." Whipping around, I saw the creepy guy standing behind us. He started laughing hysterically and grabbed the kid behind us, who immediately started screaming and kicking at him. My brother and I turned around and grabbed our friend by the arms and started pulling him away, sort of playing tug-of-war with this kid. All the while, the guy is slobbering and talking about things he wants to do to us. We must have made a racket because eventually the guy let go and took off. We ran inside crying and tried to explain to the daycare ladies, who were just angry at us, said we were lying or that the guy was only joking. I remember our mother being very mad and yelling at us for taking shortcuts. I don't really remember anything after that, and I don't think anyone called the police or we ever saw him again. Story number 3. When I was in college, I'd always park in this one parking deck. Every morning I get there just in time to get one of the last spots on the top deck. It's on the edge of campus, but still a very busy area during the day. Even at late hours of the night, there'd still be a few cars around. There was one day I decided to stay on campus late to study, and I left the library sometime around 11 p.m. or 12 a.m. It's about a 15-minute walk through the most heavily trafficked part of campus to get back to my car. So of course, this was the first night I walked the entire route without seeing a single person, not even by the dorms. I got to the deck and noticed that there were no cars, not even one on the first floor. I pressed the elevator button and waited. A few seconds later, a car came into the deck, and I could see this man behind the wheel. He looked at me, swerved around to park on the first floor, but kept the lights and engine on. I thought nothing of it because music majors frequent this parking deck and often come to campus to practice at odd hours. Right as I got into the elevator, though, I saw through the closing doors that he was starting to drive up through the deck. I got up to the top deck and no other car was up there except for mine on the opposite side from the elevators. I had to walk slowly to my car because it had snowed recently and there were still patches of ice on the deck. Right as I got to my car and opened the passenger door to throw my bag in, I see lights coming up from the floor below, and the same car was coming up onto the top deck. The guy's face just looks emotionless. I couldn't get around to my car to the driver's seat without getting close enough to his car, but right as he passed me, he slowed down and watched me. Suddenly he hits the gas and whips around the loop of the deck and speeds towards me. I ran around and got into the driver's seat and watched him in my mirrors. He slowed down again, coming behind me, and then sped off back down the deck. I never saw him again. Story number 4. This happened to me when I was a child, and I still remember it very clearly to this day, as it set me up for a lifelong fear of being watched as I sleep. I was 6 years old and me and my family were living in public housing as we had recently come to America. Our apartment was on the first floor, but slightly underground, as my bedroom window was level with the ground outside. The windows were big and had a ledge. On my ledge I had stuffed animals lined up looking out the window. On this specific night, I was having trouble sleeping as there were strange noises coming from my outside window, along with tapping. I looked out my window and saw a strange man, crouching and peeping through the gap between my curtains and the wall, looking directly at me, with a strange look on his face. I started screaming and crying. My dad ran into my room to assure me that everything was all right, and I was just having a bad dream. But I hadn't been sleeping. I couldn't sleep that night because I was having a weird feeling the entire night of being watched. My dad opened the curtains and no one was there. To comfort me, he slept in bed with me, but I still couldn't sleep. He, on the other hand, had knocked out. It was getting later in the night, and the weird noises started up again. It sounded like someone trying to cut through the screen and tapping on the window with the blade as he cut through with the motion. I woke my dad up quietly, trying to show him what I had told him about. He ripped open the curtains and saw the man with a knife cutting through the screen. He jumped out of bed and ran for the door, and then ran to chase the man who was watching me sleep, trying to break into our home. He chased the man to his car, but he sped off before my father had a chance. My parents called the police and told them what happened, but nothing ever really came of it. From that night on, I've had an irrational fear and never sleep by a window. I used to have night terrors about the incident for years. I haven't thought about this for a while, but I had another dream about it recently, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. I asked my dad about it recently, and he refused to talk about it with me. So strange man trying to break into my room. Let's not meet, and I hope I never met you before. Story number 5. In the evenings, my friend and I, who are both adults, like to take a walk in the park in the evenings for a bit of a workout. Usually it's a fairly safe environment. We see the regulars walking and there's people bringing their kids to play. But after 8 p.m. it starts to become empty. Today it was around 8:45 or 9 p.m. We notice the parking lot is completely empty, save for a white van driving around. But we have to cross the lot to get where we're going. We note it as being a bit strange but keep walking. As soon as it sees us, it literally turns around towards us and starts to follow us. Initially the van was about 15 feet away, but it keeps speeding up until it's 5 to 10 feet behind us. I try to tell my friend we should try to get on the grass to where it can't drive on, but she insists we just keep walking as fast as we can and get out of there. I don't want to leave her either, so I just listen and try walking as fast as I can with her. As we keep walking, the van gradually gets faster. At this point, we're sure it's following us and not just trying to exit the parking lot. It stopped at the exit and flat out pulled into the parking spot next to us so it could turn to properly keep following us. At this point, it's 2 feet away from us, and we're trying to get away from it. Just as the van is right up to us, the van stops. I'm a bit confused, but I keep walking. Till 5 seconds later, the park ranger pulls into the lot to patrol the park. When I look back, I can see the van speeding off in the opposite direction, going around to the other end of the park to exit. We decided it was time to go home after that. Story number 6. This happened when I was 4 years old. My memory of the events are quite vivid, as this was the closest thing I've ever been to possibly dying. I was at the grocery store with my mom. While she was buying groceries, she left me outside to play on those pretend cars that you put a quarter in so it moves back and forward. We lived in a small town, so there was a feeling of trust in the community, and my mom felt safe leaving me out there by myself. 4-year-old me was having the time of her life on that car. I didn't even take notice of the man standing nearby. A skinny and rather short man. He was sporting a trench coat that nearly touched his feet. He looked like he was in his mid-30s and was already starting to bald. Once the car ride stopped, the man walked up to me. I remember him kneeling down to me, letting out a wide grin and asking, "Hey, would you like another quarter, little lady?" "Sure, mister," I said. He smiled and placed a quarter in my hand. He held on to my hand for quite a while. I put the quarter back in the machine and went for another ride. He was watching me the entire time. Mom was taking a little longer than expected. The car ride was over again, so the man picked me up from the ride and stood me in front of him. He said, "I have a car myself. Do you want to come for a ride with me?" I remember being a little confused by the question. It's like I was starting to notice something was a little off. "Don't worry," he assured me. "This ride is free of charge." He grinned again. He held out his hand and I stupidly accepted it. We started walking towards his car. It was this small dented thing that hadn't been cleaned in years. When he opened his car door, it was accompanied by a high-pitched yell from behind me. My mom, along with a large security guard, were sprinting towards me. The man panicked, jumped in his car and drove off immediately. I was left in the parking space by myself. My mom grabbed me and hugged me. I could feel her tears running down my shoulder. I heard the security guard on his walkie-talkie requesting assistance. Unfortunately, they never found the man. Thinking back to that day 20 years ago really puts this thing into perspective. I was possibly 10 seconds away from being taken forever, never to see my mom again. The fact that this man might still be roaming the streets absolutely terrifies me. I hope no one else has gotten hurt because of him. Thank you guys for watching and listening. Please be sure to leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe for more videos. Be sure to email me your true scary Halloween stories so I can feature them on the Halloween special next month. Email your stories to thesinfulsavant@gmail.com. I'll leave my email address as well in the description box below. Until we meet again, stay sinful.